Okay, Numbers 9. The Lord spoke to Moses in the desert of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt. Now it says the desert of Sinai, so I don't know if they have left the mountain and they're in the desert now, maybe. Now we read back in Numbers 1, that story and everything that went from Numbers 1 to 6 apparently was in the second month of the second year. And they're in the desert of Sinai already. So this may be after, so this is before that. This is the first month of the second year, but it may be, well, we'll see. You know, they're going to actually set out in Numbers 10. But I guess, you know, it says the 20th day of the second month. So anyway, they're about to leave. They're about to leave, but this is still the first month of the second year. He said, "Have the Israelites celebrate the Passover at the appointed time. Celebrate it at the appointed time, at twilight on the 14th day of this month, in accordance with all its rules and regulations." And of course, the 15th day of the month, the beginning of the next week, would be the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So Moses told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover, and they did so in the desert of Sinai at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. So this is basically a year after they came out of Egypt. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord commanded Moses. But some of them could not celebrate the Passover that day because they were ceremonially unclean on account of a dead body. So they came to Moses and Aaron that same day and said to Moses, "We have become unclean because of a dead body. But why should we be kept from presenting the Lord's offering with the other Israelites at the appointed time?" Moses answered them, "Wait until I find out what the Lord commands concerning you." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, when any of you or your descendants are unclean because of a dead body, or are away on a journey, they may still celebrate the Lord's Passover. They are to celebrate it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight." It's the second month now. So it's a month after when they normally would celebrate it. They are to eat the lamb together with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They must not leave any of it till morning or break any of its bones. When they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all the regulations. But if a man who is ceremonially clean and not on a journey fails to celebrate the Passover, that person must be cut off from his people, because he did not present the Lord's offering at the appointed time. That man will bear the consequences of his sin. An alien living among you who wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover must do so in accordance with its rules and regulations. You must have the same regulations for the alien and for the native born. On the day the tabernacle, the tent of the testimony, was set up, the cloud covered it. We read that back at the end of Exodus. From evening till morning, the cloud above the tabernacle looked like fire. That is how it continued to be. The cloud covered it, and at night it looked like fire. Whenever the cloud lifted from above the tent, the Israelites set out. Wherever the cloud settled, the Israelites encamped. At the Lord's command, the Israelites set out, and at his command they encamped. That may have been the lines of a song originally in early Israelite culture. As long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they remained in camp. When the cloud remained over the tabernacle a long time, the Israelites obeyed the Lord's order and did not set out. Sometimes the cloud was over the tabernacle only a few days. At the Lord's command, they would encamp, and then at his command, they would set out. Sometimes the cloud stayed only from evening till morning, and when it lifted in the morning, they set out. Whether by day or by night, whenever the cloud lifted, they set out. Whether the cloud stayed over the tabernacle for 2 days, or a month, or a year, the Israelites would remain in camp and not set out. But when it lifted, they would set out. At the Lord's command, they encamped, and at the Lord's command, they set out. They obeyed the Lord's order in accordance with his command through Moses. Did you notice how repetitive that was? Did you notice how many times? I didn't count. But in that one paragraph, they basically communicated the same point over and over and over again. When the cloud lifted, they set out, and when the cloud stayed, they encamped. And we said that basic thing like 6 different ways in the span of a paragraph. So have you figured out that a lot of this style of writing and instructing is repetitive, and it is so by its nature? Again, as I said before, one of the things our smart people today will say is that this stuff was written by 2 or 3 different sources and then kind of stitched together by somebody later on. It's like, well, one of the reasons why they say this is because the same things are said the same way over and over again, sometimes using different words, sometimes not. But that's just the way it's written. I mean, you see this constantly. We've read this back in the Genesis about the flood, how so many of those lines just repeated the same thing this line before said, and we see it here. The entire paragraph basically communicated one thought. At the Lord's command they encamped, and at the Lord's command they set out. But it said it like 10 different ways. And that's just what it is. We might not write that way today. We might not say the same thing 10 different ways in one paragraph, backwards and forwards and around again, and having a line of a song in there maybe, and then saying the same thing backwards. I don't know. We may not do that. We might, but that's what they did, and that's we can see it right there in their style of literature. The Lord said to Moses, "Make 2 trumpets of hammered silver, and use them for calling the community together and for having the camp set out. When both are sounded," so there's 2 of them, and when they're both sounding, the whole community is to assemble before you at the entrance to the tent of meeting. If only one is sounded, the leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, are to assemble before you. When a trumpet blast is sounded, the tribes camping on the east are to set out. The east is first, because that's the way they're facing. At the sounding of a second blast, the camps in the south are to set out. So it goes from east and works around in a circle. The blast will be the signal for setting out. To gather the assembly, blow the trumpets, but not with the same signal. I don't know what signal they use. They must have had different types. The sons of Aaron the priests are to blow the trumpets. This is to be a lasting ordinance for you in the generations to come. When you go into battle in your own land against an enemy who is opposing you or oppressing you, sound a blast in the trumpets. Then you'll be remembered by the Lord your God and rescued from your enemies. Also, at your times of rejoicing, your appointed feasts and new moon festivals, you are to sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, and they'll be a memorial for you before your God. I am the Lord your God. On the 20th day of the 2nd month of the 2nd year, so about a month after the previous, they celebrated the Passover a month ago. Those unclean guys, I guess, are finishing up their week of unleavened bread. Actually, this would be technically still during that week of unleavened bread for them. But on the 20th day of the 2nd month of the 2nd year, the cloud lifted from above the tabernacle of the testimony. Now, we already read about this happening. We just got done talking a few verses ago about the way the cloud would do this and move around, and they would follow it, and it would settle, and they would camp there. Okay, so we already know this happens. But here's where it happened for the first time after they set the tabernacle. They've been here for a year. They got here a year ago, actually 13 months ago, so they've been here for 13 months. They built the tabernacle. God has taken up residence in it. All that has happened. They got the 10 Commandments. All that has happened. The priests have been ordained. The system has been set up, and now they're ready to move out. The cloud lifted from above the tabernacle of the testimony. Then the Israelites set out from the desert of Sinai and traveled from place to place until the cloud came to rest in the desert of Paran. They set out this first time at the Lord's command through Moses. The divisions of the camp of Judah went first under their standard. Nahshon, son of Amminadab, was in command. Nethanel, son of Zuar, was over the division of the tribe of Issachar, and Eliab, son of Helon, was over the division of the tribe of Zebulun. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the Gershonites and Merarites who carried it set out. The divisions of the camp of Reuben went next under their standard. Eliezer, son of Sheduer, was in command. Shelumiel, son of Zerushadai, was over the division of the tribe of Simeon, and Eliasaph, son of Duel, was over the division of the tribe of Gad. Then the Kohathites set out, carrying the holy things. The tabernacle was to be set up before they arrived. The division of the camps of Ephraim went next, these would be the people to the west, under their standard. Elishama, son of Ammihud, was in command. Gamaliel, son of Pedahzur, was over the division of the tribe of Manasseh. And Abidan, son of Gideoni, was over the division of the tribe of Benjamin. Finally, as the rear guard for all the units, the divisions of the camp of Dan set out under their standard. Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai, was in command. Pagiel, son of Okron, was over the division of the tribe of Asher, and Ahira, son of Enon, was over the division of the tribe of Naphtali. This was the order of march for the Israelite divisions as they set out. Now Moses said to Hobab, son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law. We call this guy Jethro as well, Reuel Jethro. It's hard to say whether it's the same guy or generations of guys. Moses had a father-in-law who was a Midianite. Apparently this was his brother-in-law, Hobab, the son of his father-in-law. We are setting out for the place about which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will treat you well. For the Lord has promised good things for Israel. He answered. Moses seemed to be on pretty good terms with his in-laws. They were Midianites, they were not Israelites, so they seemed to be on good terms with Moses, and vice versa. He answered, No, I will not go. I am going back to my own land and my own people. But Moses said, Please, do not leave us. You know where we should camp in the desert, and you can be our eyes. If you come with us, we will share with you whatever good things the Lord gives us. So they set out from the mountain of the Lord and traveled for 3 days. I'm assuming the guy went with them. It doesn't actually say that, but I'm assuming the guy went with them. Now, why do they need him if they have the Lord to guide them? We spent a lot of time back in chapter 9 talking about the Lord's cloud guiding them around from place to place. I mentioned that, how we did the same thing like 10 times in a row. So why do they need this guy? Well, there's always a form of human agency that is asked by God of human beings, as God carries out. God will do whatever he desires to do. He'll carry out his plans, whether or not any of us decide to help him. But he wants us to help him. God's intent is for us to work with him. In this case, he's working obviously with Moses, through Moses. He's been doing that since the beginning of Exodus. And Moses has selected this guy, his in-law, as a good person to help them through the wilderness. Whether he was going to help them, find the right routes to travel as they follow the cloud, advise them on where to find shade and shelter. I don't know. I don't know what his role was compared to the role the cloud of God provided in terms of telling them where to camp and when to set out. But apparently he did something. I'm assuming he did go with them because it doesn't say otherwise. And apparently he did do something, and Moses asked him to. So there was a human agency involved here. Figuring out how that works together is one of the mysteries. You can never really... God will get done whatever he wants to get done. But he wants to work with humans and through humans to do it. Now there comes a point in time when if no one's willing to help him or assist, he'll do it himself anyway. So they set out from the mountain of the Lord and traveled for 3 days. The ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them during those 3 days to find them a place to rest. The cloud of the Lord was over them by day when they set out from the camp. Whenever the ark set out, Moses said, Rise up, O Lord! May your enemies be scattered. May your foes flee before you. And whenever it came to rest, he said, Return, O Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel.